If I asked you right now what your game got inspired by, what you want to make, maybe you describe something like Stardew Valley or Minecraft or Need for Speed. Maybe it's a different game, but it's the game you fell in love with and it becomes the picture of what your game should look like. That's a problem, because you're not going to reach that, and then you wonder why it's failing. You look at your inspiration and you decide, oh yeah, this is what my complete game should look like. It should have biomes, seasons, NPCs, dungeons. Anything smaller than that doesn't feel finished to you. That's the real problem you're having. Genre is also a scope decision, probably even the biggest one. For example, Hollow Knight. You have a Metroidvania as your inspiration and it needs level design, backtracking, abilities, enemies, everything of that until it feels playable to you. And while your first game is still figuring out how to do collision detection, state machines, and how to make cool 3D models, you're still here and you try to make something you cannot achieve yet. Your game becomes so large that you would have needed a team to make it over years. But in reality, you're 6 months into game development and every week you want to make something, it just feels wrong because you're falling behind. But that's not a problem of the content. That's a problem of your idea and your inspiration. The target you want to achieve is never reachable, and that's your core issue. That's the Outlier Trap. You have games in your library like Stardew or Hollow Knight or Undertale or Tiny Glade, and those aren't just successful, they're anomalies. They are great games and they are really well made. But the problem is that in 2023 alone on Steam, most games earned less than the release fee, and those were thousands of games which got released. The games in your shelf, they are a tiny fraction, but people still talk about them years later. That's not because the games themselves are just something you can achieve and those are games that are common. Those are outliers. You picked something that's not normal. You picked something that's barely possible and you treat it like this is what you need to do. This is your starting line. For example, if you have Hollow Knight, you have great aesthetic in that game. Because it became your definition of done, your game never feels done. Because each time you add something or you change something, you think, oh yeah, if I add just one more thing, one more animation before showing it to anyone, it will become juicier. Which in and of itself is not wrong. It's not a polish problem that you think it is. But it's a trap. The trap is saying, hey, your game isn't ready yet. And that's what most people think. And with that comes the timeline. So you think of Stardew Valley, which took years to make, but for your own game you choose 6 months. And it sounds about right, because knowing the facts and applying them to yourself are different things. The things you actually build are way different from the games you see and the dream projects that got lucky. The trap itself inflates the scope while squeezing your timeline together. And that's where most projects die, in that exact gap where everything is blowing up in their faces. So now you obviously think, if I aim at something smaller, I lose the thing that gets me out of bed. Fair. That inspiration is real. You need to keep it. It's fuel for your game. Everyone has it, and I appreciate when people love and stand for the things that they love. So for what you love, Stardew Valley's loop of effort and reward, all of those things you can keep. It's your taste compass, because those are important things. Again, it gets you out of bed in the morning, it makes game development fun, and you should keep that. But there's the scope compass, which you need to retire. That voice in your brain that says, hey, a real game needs 20 hours of content and so many NPCs. That's sabotaging your game, and you need to strike that out of your mindset. So, for example, you can love Stardew Valley and still make a small 45-minute farming loop. It doesn't need 45 crops, you can just use 3, and the taste can stay. It can look great, but the scope is negotiable. You can make it small and you can actually finish it. So you need to make it small enough for the whole design to fit in your head. It needs to solve one game feel problem really well. Movement, shooting, resource loops, That's one thing you can make better. So after that, you can ship to a handful of players. And from that gap, you can learn where intent is and what players actually experience. And that gap is where all learning happens. For example, if you have other teams like Team Cherry who made Hollow Knight, they did game jams before that. And the developer behind Stardew Valley did small side projects. And before Undertale, Toby Fox made music and did ROM hacks. All of those are things that you don't think of when you think of your dream projects. Do an exercise. Write down the 3 things you love most about your inspiration game. Maybe a mechanic, a feeling that it's conveying, a moment that made you think, oh, I love this game. Those are the 3 things that are important. Those are your taste compass core principles. So check your projects against them and not the full game, and write it in the comments down below. For example, do you love Stardew Valley? And can I make a small game from the farming loop? Do you love the snappy but weighty movement of Hollow Knight? So can I make my character move like that? Both are achievable in a first project, but everything else, the biomes, the bosses, the 30 hour of playtime, that's a scope compass, and you should let that go for this game. Not forever, but this one. You're not a developer that does everything bad or wrong. You're using the things that get you inspired in a wrong way. So keep the taste compass, retire the scope compass, and at least for this project, write down your 3 taste compass skills and check it against them. Outliers are great for showing you what is possible, but they are terrible at telling you where to start. Drop your inspiration game down below and your current project and how it works together. I'm really curious about how large that gap is in your projects and what you're working on. We can work together in the comments, help each other out, or in my Discord. Link is in the description. And don't forget to subscribe, because only a handful of people actually get notified without the bell on. So with that, I hope I'll see you in the next one.